Hey, we have another hometown weirdo. Texas weirdos are my favorite, and I'm so glad he did well.
Welcome to episode 237 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 237. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week, the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, the nerd and the murd. First thing I have to ask you is, who did you piss off in Chile?
What?
We started off the week at number 34 in Chile on pod status, and by Friday we were at 198. So who did you piss off in Chile?
I don't know. Pinochet?
Couldn't have been me.
No, wait, he's dead.
I don't know.
Fuck, I don't know.
I just thought it was funny as I got the pod status updates. I'm like, why are we dropping in Chile? Why were we so high in Chile? Now why are we dropping?
Maybe we did something that was Chile-centric
I don't know.
the week before. I can't think of what that would be, though.
I don't know. I got my my putter. I got my putter regripped, and I got a Darth Vader grip on my putter now. I love it. I love it. It's so cool. It's so awesome. When I asked the guy at our pro shop if he could regrip my putter because it was starting to fray on the end. He said, "Yeah, I can. What do you want on it?" And I said, "Well, I want something similar like I've got now because I've got a good thick grip on my putter. It's called a pistol grip." And he said, "Sure." And then I came back and I said, "You know, it'd be really cool is if there's a Star Wars grip." And he goes, "Yeah, there is. I can get this."
Oh, nice.
So I got Darth Vader on my putter. I'm so happy. I saw a trailer this morning for a new Gore Verbinski film with Sam Rockwell called Good Luck, Have Fun, and Don't Die. It looks great. A guy from the future who has come back to save us from AI is what it looks like.
I've seen that. I've seen some bits from that. It's like, is he a crazy person or is he actually from the future?
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I just saw it this morning. I thought that was pretty cool. I can't wait for that one. Speaking of movies, I have to say the trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu looked phenomenal. Comes out in May or June, I think it is. But I have to say the title, The Mandalorian and Grogu, I think is horrible. I think that's a horrible title. I can't stand it. I hate that title. I think it's very childish. I don't know. I'm looking forward to the movie. It's descriptive.
I mean, you know what you're getting.
It is. I mean,
it's just kind of meh. Yeah, I agree. That's a shit title.
It is. It's a shitty title. I'm looking forward to the movie itself, but I think the title is shitty. The trailer looks phenomenal. I can't wait for it. I can't wait. Anyway, that's all I got. You got anything you want to step over to the nerdery side of the house?
I'm kind of excited to step over into the nerdery side of the house.
All right.
Today we're talking about Wes Anderson, the director.
Yeah, this is all you. I do not like his movies. It's all you.
Wesley Wales Anderson, born May 1st, 1969, is an American filmmaker. His films are known for themes of grief, loss of innocence, and dysfunctional families. Due to his film's eccentricities, distinctive visual style and narrative styles, and frequent use of ensemble casts, critics have cited Anderson as an auteur. 3 of his films appeared in BBC Cultural's 2016 poll of the greatest films since 2000. Anderson actually gained acclaim for his early film, Bottle Rockets and Rushmore. He often collaborates with the brothers Luke and Owen Wilson during the time, and founded his production company, American Empirical Pictures. He received a nomination for Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay for The Royal Tenenbaums in 2001. His next films included The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, The Darjeeling Limited, and his first stop-motion film, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, which he received Best Animated Feature nomination, and then Moonrise Kingdom. For his films, The Grand Budapest Hotel, he received his first Academy Award nominations for Best Director and Best Picture, and also his third Best Original Screenplay nomination. He won the BAFTA Award for Best Original Screenplay. Later works include his second stop-motion film, Isle of Dogs, earning him the Silver Bear for Dispatch for Best Director. and another Best Animated Feature nomination, following by The French Dispatch, Asteroid City, The Phoenician Scheme. Anderson won the Academy Awards for Best Live Action Short Film and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Wesley Wales Anderson was born in Houston, Texas, to Melvar Leonard Anderson, who worked in advertising and public relations, and Texas Ann Anderson, originally Texas Ann Burroughs, a realtor and archaeologist. Amateur archaeologists usually have weird names like Indiana Jones or Texas Burroughs. His parents divorced when he was 8. He is the second of 3 boys. His older brother, Mel, is a physician, and his younger brother, Eric Chase Anderson, is a writer and artist whose paintings and designs have appeared in several of Anderson's films, including The Royal Tenenbaums. Anderson is English, Swedish, and Norwegian. He graduated from St. John's School in Houston, which he later used as a prominent location in Rushmore. As a child, Anderson made silent films on his father's Super 8 camera, which starred his brothers and friends. Although his first ambition was to be a writer, Anderson worked part-time as a cinema projectionist at Hogg Memorial Auditorium while attending the University of Texas at Austin, where he met his roommate and future collaborator, Owen Wilson, in 1989. In 1991, he graduated with a Bachelor of Arts with a major in philosophy, described being intrigued by the meaning of meanings by C.K. Ogden and I.A. Richards. Anderson's first film was Bottle Rockets, based on a short film of the same name that he made with Luke and Owen Wilson. It is a crime caper about a group of young Texans aspiring to achieve major heists. It was well reviewed, but performed poorly at the box office. So let's stop right there and break this down. So I'll borrow the pod back machine real quick. It's 1991. Owen Wilson and his roommate, Wes Anderson, are in film school in Austin. And they decide they're going to make a short film for, I believe it was for a grade originally. And the short film is called Bottle Rockets. It's black and white. Owen Wilson, they basically wrote a part for Owen, but they had this main character that they needed. So they're like, let's get my brother Luke to do it. So the Owen brothers grew up in Dallas because their dad ran our local PBS station. And I think they both went to UT, but Owen was, a writer, a filmmaker, and an actor. He's usually perceived as the dumb one of the brothers. It's actually not true. It's because of the way he talks. The wow. Anybody who's ever been to North Dallas, just stand around for a minute. You'll hear shit like that. They also are originally the family was originally from Fallweather, Massachusetts, so the boys developed a North Dallas accent, which is kind of different from other accents around here. It's a little softer. But they also had that Massachusetts thing going on. So there's like so those boys just kind of talk funny. So they convince Luke that he needs to be in this little movie, and he's thinking, oh yeah, this is nice. This will be something to do, because he was not even remotely interested in any of this. But he kind of got a bug for it, and he has a career because they kept making him do these pictures. So, and other people were like, hey, would you like to do something else? And he's like, yeah, sure. Which is why his career is all over the place, because that's how he operates. It's not, hey, I need to go out, I need to get this role, and I need to do this kind of role and this kind of role. It's like, oh, hey, we want you to come do this. And he's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. So, which honestly, I think probably is the best way to do it. I have included in our YouTube playlist the original short film Bottle Rockets, the black and white. It is early 90s. It is indie filmmaking at that time at its finest. They then made a feature in 1996 called Bottle Rockets, which was in color, and it's a caper film centered around Dallas, and then they go down to South Texas near Houston, and then they come back to Dallas, and it's kind of all over the place, but at the same time, it's all about the characters and how they're dealing with life and things, which is why I loved Bottle Rocket so much, and it is uniquely Texan, um, weirdo Texan, which I am a weirdo Texan, so I kind of gravitate towards shit like that. But a lot of the things we think of as being Anderson films, you don't really see in Bottle Rockets. You don't get that until later, where he does this thing where he will take a building and then he will like cut away a wall where you see the whole building, but it's the inside, and there's different color palettes for different rooms in different areas, and a lot of small model work and things like that. You don't really get that in Bottle Rockets. Basically, what you get in Bottle Rockets is the dialogue, and it's the same, and as in the other films, but you don't get that Anderson style that everybody thinks of. But the seeds are there. His next film was Rushmore in 1998, and it was a comedy about a high school student's crush on an elementary school teacher. And it starred Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, and Olivia Williams. It was a success, and everybody kind of lauded this film. I personally did not care for Rushmore half as much as I loved Bottle Rockets. Bottle Rockets just spoke to me. But then again, made by a bunch of weirdo Texans from the Metroplex, so I get that. The film launched Murray's second act as a respected actor in independent cinema, which Bill Murray had basically gone away from the movie business for about 5 years. He came back. He did Scrooged in like 1990, and then What About Bob in 1991, and then he didn't really do anything for a couple of years until this. And then he started doing a bunch of other indie movies, and he did a whole bunch of other Wes Anderson stuff. I think he's been in every one of Wes Anderson's films since Rushmore. It did. Anderson won Best Director, and Murray won Best Supporting Male at the Independent Spirit Awards in 1999. Murray got a nomination for a Golden Globe. Martin Scorsese praised Bottle Rockets and Rushmore since the release. He thought they were really, really great. They have been added to the preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. Anderson does like to work with a bunch of the same actors over and over. He likes both Owen and Luke and their other brother, Andrew, who is basically a cinematographer, the Wilson brothers. Bill Murray, Jason Schwartzman, Angelica Houston, Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Edward Norton, Adrian Brody, Bob Balaban, Tony Revolori, and Tilda Swinton. Robert Yeoman has served as director of photography for all of Anderson's live-action films, while Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo composes Anderson's first 4 films, and Alexander Desplat the next 6, taking over with the fantastic Mr. Fox. It uses the same music supervisor, Randall Poster. Anderson has co-written films with Noah Baumbach, Roman Coppola, and Hugo Guinness. His films have often been financed by Stephen Rails through his production company, Indian Paintbrush. So his films are as follows. Of course, you've got the original Bottle Rockets, the short film, made in about 1992, I believe. And then the 1996 film Bottle Rockets, Rushmore, The Royal Tannenbaums, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, The Darjeeling Limited, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Isle of Dogs, The French Dispatch of the Liberty Kansas Evening Sun, Asteroid City, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and Three More, and The Phoenician Scheme. I have seen all of these films. I am a big fan of some of the more lesser known ones. I thought the Darjeeling Limited was brilliant because it takes place mostly on a train going through India, where these guys are basically delivering their father's ashes to their mother, and they've had a contentious split for years. The mother has been living in India for like the better part of a decade, and the father was still living in, I believe, New York. But it's basically a story about these three brothers dealing with their father's death and taking a trip together. Some of the train scenes are incredible. Moonrise Kingdom also is this story about basically a Boy Scout camp and this love story between a couple of 10-year-olds, which is very sweet and very beautiful. I kind of dig it. Think it's wonderful. The Grand Budapest Hotel, same thing. I liked Isle of Dogs. The French Dispatch is basically a whole bunch of weird stories strung together about this office of this newspaper that was in Paris, and it's basically about the last edition that they're going to release. Asteroid City is a weird alien, weird little town sort of show that's basically a movie in a box. The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and the Three More is like an anthology, also dealing with that. The Phoenician Scheme is also really incredible. It's a lot like Steve Zissou. What can I say? So what he will do is he'll get this really great dialogue between these characters. It's going on throughout the movie, and there's different little vignettes. There's different groups of characters that come together and leave with an overall arching problem that they're all trying to solve from different angles. While all of this is going on, you will get a shot of a building, or in the case of the Life Aquatic, a boat, or in the case of the Darjeeling Limited, a train, where you basically just cut a wall off and you see the whole inner workings of the building, where you got these different scenes, or train or boat, where you got these different scenes playing out in different color patterns or different color palettes. Sometimes they're really close, sometimes they're really far away, but you get to see all of this, and there's so much saturation of color and story, and it's about people coming to grips with their relationships with their families and trauma and tragedy. And there's usually a divorce or a split that's happened that's basically caused weirdness in a family. You even get this with the Fantastic Mr. Fox and the Isle of Dogs a little bit, but you definitely get the blown out fourth wall. So it's just amazing, all the stuff that's going on. And usually there's usually a death that goes on as well, surrounding all of this stuff. I like his stuff because, to me, it's very sweet. A lot of stuff's very kind, and it's mostly a character study, but it's also visually stunning. Even the original Bottle Rockets, the color was super saturated. The 1996 Bottle Rockets, not the short film. The short film was in black and white. The only thing the short film gives you is that weird character study that laces through his entire career. And it used to be like we got like 2 to 3 years between his films. They're coming a little quicker now. Like we got The French Dispatch in 2021, Asteroid City in 2023. Henry Sugar in 2024, and The Phoenician Scheme in 2025. So we're getting them about every year and a half now, which is nice because before we had to wait like 3 years between any of these projects. I think my least favorite is Rushmore of all of the films. I know you're not a huge fan.
Not at all.
I think they're all visually stunning, again, including Bottle Rockets, because you just get these broad vistas. And he'll do these weird shots where he's coming, because it's about a road trip. He's coming from this old car, and he'll shoot with the sun behind him, but it's midday, so you get this brilliant saturation of color, kind of like what David Lynch would do on the daylight scenes in Blue Velvet. It's that kind of color saturation. And it just frame his characters walking in and out of frame with that. It's beautiful. And he does it a bunch in that film. And it's like, oh, this guy's really smart. I like what he's doing there. It's not just about the characters. It's also about the picture that it's painting. Because that's the same place that David Lynch is coming from. It's about painting the picture and doing the characterizations. Almost from two separate perspectives, but it's all going on at the same time. It's one of those things where, much like David Lynch, you need to watch these more than once to catch it all, because there's so much going on in the background that sometimes you miss it because you're concentrating on the dialogue of these characters. But I would definitely say the two that he was, when he first came on the scene, that he was most lauded for, Rushmore and the Royal Tannenbaums, to me, those are his two weakest films. I don't think they're bad, but they don't compare to The Life Aquatic or Moonrise Kingdom. I think Moonrise Kingdom may be it's definitely his sweetest film. It's the kindest film that he's made. But again, it's all about sweetness. I love this dude. Everything that he's done since he started, I've been a big fan of. Again, less so Rushmore and the Royal Tannenbaums, but I wouldn't necessarily say they were bad. I just don't like them as much as The Life Aquatic or Bottle Rockets or Darjeeling Limited. Just a love fest for Wes Anderson. But I think it's fascinating that, him and Owen Wilson were basically the drivers on most of these films, and still to this day. Whereas they just grab Luke, it's like, hey, we're doing another movie. We've written you a part, and Luke's just like, okay, cool. And it sounds like I'm talking shit about Luke Wilson. No, I've heard him fucking say this. Like, he wouldn't have a career if Owen and Wes didn't make him do this stuff. Because, it's his older brother's college roommate who he kind of views as another older brother. I think it's amazing. And, and they also get Andrew involved a little bit, because Andrew is more behind the camera kind of person, but they will make him, I say make him, they will write something for him and make him be in it. And that's why I think it's more about working with your friends more than anything else, which is why I think they do this, especially here lately where they've done a whole bunch. Most of it's been on Netflix. He must have a deal. Let's see. I talked about the color saturation. I talked about blowing out the fourth wall, where you get some of that. There's usually a lot of traveling involved. There's a lot of back and forth movement. And again, you've got different people coming across a problem from different angles. You get a lot of that in the films. It's cool. It's a little scurvy. And it's funny, but not like laugh out loud funny. It's introspectively funny, if that makes a sense. It's like where you go, oh, that's funny. But then you're on to the next scene. So he doesn't really give you time to have a guffaw, because there's too much stuff going on. Are there any of these that you do enjoy, or you're not?
I am not a fan of his in the least little bit. I
You
do
don't.
not like these movies. No, I've tried. I've tried. I find them pretentious. I
They're
find
a
them a
little
little too
pretentious, a
highbrow. And
little too highbrow.
yeah.
I enjoy the shit out of them. I think. I Have you ever seen Bottle Rockets?
No, you had talked about that, and I've never seen it. I'm telling you, I do not like Wes Anderson. This is not my thing. Not
Yeah.
my thing.
You might want to give Bottle Rockets a shot, because a lot of the things that people think of as being the pretentious stuff is the stuff that I like. But he wasn't doing that with Bottle Rockets. Bottle Rockets is a straight up character study. Probably because he didn't have the money to do that with Bottle Rockets. Um, and if you really just want to look at the character study, look at the short film. I've got the whole one in our YouTube playlist. But again, if you are into color saturation and character studies, definitely check this out. This is something you should see. And if I had to recommend just one, it would be Moonrise Kingdom, because it's sweet. It's just sweet. And you've got Bob Balaban basically narrating it in only the way that Bob Balaban can. It's lovely and wonderful. That's about it for old Wes Anderson, other than it's nice to see another Texas weirdo make good.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I can appreciate your stuff on this. It's just not my thing, but everybody, go give it a shot for yourself. See what you think about it.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, with that, we'll step over to the murder side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off the Chicago Tribune, CBS News, ABC 7 Chicago, and People Magazine, and this is the murder of Gizzell Ford.
Gizzell Ford.
This one is rough. This one is rough. Not rough like a weird Florida man story or a bizarre plot that kind of makes you go, "Hey, what the hell did I just hear?"
Mm-hmm.
This is rough, like something's going to punch you right in the chest.
Okay.
Way back in episode 2, I covered the Sylvia Likens case.
Mm-hmm.
That one actually mentally hurt me deeply, and I barely made it through that episode. This one could do maybe this one may be the same for me. I can't promise. I may not have to take pauses as we go through, and I do apologize for it now. I will do everything I can to push through. I had to walk away multiple times when doing this one. This is a hard story, but it has to be talked about. This is a child abuse murder case that's very hard to talk about. It's very hard to hear. It's going to be impossible to forget. It's very deeply personal to me. And that's what I think makes it harder. So I'm going to apologize up front. A, that this is going to be rough. B, I make it emotional in this. C, if you do not want to listen to this, I understand. But I think her story deserves to keep going. This is the murder of 8-year-old Gizzell Andrea Ford. This was a little girl from Chicago whose last months of life were recorded in her own handwriting. You're gonna hear some of that today, because the truth of this is she left behind the most heartbreaking evidence of all, her own journal. This episode will be intense. It's going to be graphic. It's going to be maddening, but it's important. The system failed this child in ways that are still unbelievable. And again, you may not want to be on this one, but we're doing it anyway because she deserves to be talked about. Before we go anywhere near the crime itself, and before we talk about her grandmother, the torture of the courtroom, I want to talk about who this little girl was. Gizzell wasn't just a victim. She was a kid. She was 8 years old. She was a third grader at Belmont Cragen Elementary School on Chicago's West Side. She was a good student. She was a bright kid, and she was a kid who loved writing in her journal. She loved smiling for pictures. She loved dressing up and playing with friends. Her mother died when she was young, so she lived with her father, Andre Ford, and her grandmother, Helen Ford, who controlled the household. Gizzell was described as warm, polite, and sweet. One of her teachers said she was one of the brightest lights in the classroom. And the sad truth of it is, while she was smiling at school, while she was trying her best to be good and trying to be kind and trying to be helpful, she was living in a nightmare. In 2011, Gizelle's father, Andre, became seriously ill with a rare skin infection that eventually left him bedridden. And so what that meant in practice really was the person raising Gizzell full time became her grandmother, Helen Ford. So let me paint that picture very clearly. Andre is literally stuck in bed. He can't stand. He couldn't intervene. He couldn't protect his child. He couldn't protect himself. Helen Ford was mobile. She was in control and she was in charge of the entire home, and this arrangement would become deadly. And this is where things start going from uncomfortable to every warning sign in the book, because neighbors heard things: crashes, yelling, crying, thuds against walls, even plaster falling from the ceiling. But what nobody knew exactly was what was happening behind that apartment door. And unfortunately, the truth was far worse than any beating could have been. What investigators finally saw in the apartment after the murder, they found ropes, belts, electrical cords, a wooden board used to beat her, a mattress with no sheets, heavily stained, a bucket in the corner for her to relieve herself, and blood on the walls, baseboards, and floors. It was not a home. It was a torture chamber disguised as a grandmother home. Social services had been called multiple times before this, but nothing stuck and nothing changed. Nothing ever saved her. And this is the part that makes my blood absolutely boil. Gizzell herself told a teacher she was scared to go home. She said she was being, wow, I'm sorry. She said she was being hurt. The Department of Children and Family Services visited the home briefly, and they saw a clean apartment, and they closed the case. This is a decision that cost this little girl her life. It's heartbreaking. I'm so sorry. I really am. I'm so sorry. It is heartbreaking. It's very deeply haunting. Um, she had a journal, as I said. She had a little purple notebook where she wrote about her days, her dreams, hopes that her life would get better. And I have some of those. She wrote in her journal, "I hope that one day my dad and grandma will love me. I will not let sadness take over me. I will be good. I will be better. I love everybody." Um, this is the writing of a child trying to survive torture by believing if she behaved perfectly, if she smiled harder, if she stayed still, if she drank less water, if she did what she was told, her abusers might stop. There's one entry where she literally writes a checklist of how to avoid being punished. Do not talk back, do not cry, do not be greedy. This little girl was being beaten, starved, tied up, and she thought the solution was try harder to be good. And this is where a lot of people break down in this story, and it gets worse. This was not a murder. This was torture over time. According to the coroner, forensic investigators, and video evidence, she was beaten with belts, electrical cords, rulers, wooden sticks, a paddle made from a broken bed slat. She was bound with ropes around her wrists and ankles. She was tied to the bed frame. She was restrained in stress positions. She was starved, sometimes kept days without food, denied water until her lips cracked, punished for trying to drink from the toilet. She was forced in a physical stress position for hours, like squatting, holding her hands over her head, forced to balance on foot, forced to kneel on the floor with her arms extended. She would be deprived of sleep by being kept awake, forced to stand by her grandmother's bed, and punished if she nodded off. She was strangled regularly as a discipline thing. There were ligature marks on her neck, bruising consistent with throttling, and evidence she had been half asphyxiated multiple times before her death. This wasn't something sudden or impulsive. This was systematic torture. The part that made even seasoned homicide detectives walk out of the courtroom.
How old was she when her mom died?
She was very young. I didn't have the exact age of that. In the courtroom, Helen Ford, in her infinite cruelty, reported videos of her punishing Gizzell. In one clip, which prosecutors played in court, Gizzell is forced to hold a plank position for nearly 10 minutes. She was crying and trembling. Her arms were shaking, and she collapsed. And then Helen yelled at her, hit her, and forced her back up. At one point, Helen says, "You act like a bitch, you're going to get treated like a bitch." Gizzell whispers, "Yes, Grandma, I'm sorry, I'll be better."
She was eight.
This is an 8-year-old child. Yes. And this is an 8-year-old child saying these words to the person who's supposed to love her. That just breaks my heart. And it was even harder for the jury to watch. And I can't imagine having to watch these videos. I can't. On July 12th, 2013, paramedics were summoned to the apartment for a child not breathing. When they arrived, they found Gizzell lying on the floor, eyes open, covered in bruises, face swollen, ligature marks visible, blood around her mouth and nose, bruising and lacerations across her chest, back, and arms, wounds in different stages of healing, deep cuts infected and untreated, hair pulled out in clumps, rope fibers embedded in her skin. A gash inside her lip indicated she had been beaten in the mouth. The medical examiner testified she died of strangulation, but she had also endured blunt force trauma, crushing injuries, dehydration, infection, and extreme physical stress. The doctor said, and I quote, "This child suffered a multitude of injuries, any one of which could have caused immense pain. The strangulation was the final act." She was tortured to death.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like the strangulation, it sounds like the strangulation was, again, the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back. But honestly, if she hadn't have been gone without sleep or given food or water or other stuff, I mean, how thirsty do you have to be as at 7 or 8-year-old to drink out of the toilet? Now, I get little kids will do that shit.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble if I go get a glass of water, but I can drink out the back of this toilet.
Mm-hmm. That's survival. That's survival instinct kicking in is what that is. So yeah, she was tortured to death. The police found a rope tied to the bed frame, a large wooden stick with blood on it, multiple belts, blood stains on the walls, a bucket that served as her toilet, a mattress with no sheath and dark stains, a cell phone with videos of the abuse, and food locked in cabinets so she couldn't access it. The entire house was a control mechanism. Every object had one person maintaining dominance over an 8-year-old child.
Mm-hmm. And presumably a bedridden adult as well.
Yeah. The coroner testified that Gizzell had over 150 distinct injuries, deep bruising on her face, torso, arms, and legs, ligature marks around her neck, wrists, and ankles, head trauma, internal bleeding, human bite marks, scratches consistent with trying to claw at restraints, infections in her wound, chronic signs of starvation, cracked lips and dehydration so severe her tongue was swollen, and there were 9 separate areas on her body where injuries were so deep that muscle tissue was exposed. They called the cause of her death strangulation and homicide, but he said very clearly, quote, "This child was dying long before the assault." During the trial, courtroom observers reported jurors crying, detective wiping his eyes, people having to leave during breaks to vomit. The judge stopped the video at one point because the jury looked physically shaken, and Helen just sat at the defense table like none of it mattered. No apology, no explanation, no emotion. When prosecutors asked her why she recorded the abuse, she said, quote, "She needed to learn." Learn what? How to slowly die?
Yeah. It's an 8-year-old. And presumably, this had been going on for a while.
Yeah. I mean, the difficult part in this case is the role of her father, Andre. He was bedridden due to illness. He insisted he was too ill to intervene and didn't know the extent of the abuse. Some believed him, many did not. He was charged with felony child endangerment, but before he could stand trial, he died from complications of his illness. So there's always going to be questions about how much he knew, but legally his case is never resolved.
Yeah.
On March 31st, 2017, Helen Ford was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge said, quote, "This is one of the worst cases I have ever seen." And this comes from a Chicago judge.
Yeah.
A city
Chicago.
Not short on violent crime.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you want to talk about rage, here's the part that should make you furious. Just weeks before her death, Gizzell showed bruises to school staff, said she was being hurt at home. The hotline was called. The state investigated. They missed it. They walked in. They saw a clean apartment, and they closed the case. One worker admitted later they did not check behind closed doors. They did not interview Gizzell privately. They didn't push. The Department of Children and Family Services later admitted that the case was mishandled. The fuck it was. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, honestly, this is why you fucking fund shit like this. This is why you fucking fund shit like this. Because when you've got one caseworker who's got 1,000 children to cover, yeah, they're not going to be thorough. They can't. And you will end up having children get hurt or children being taken out of the home in a home where they're not being hurt at all. You know what I mean? This makes me so fucking mad.
I know. This case made me mad too.
This whole fucking thing, it's like, well, it's just a waste of... No, it's not a fucking waste of money, dude. It is not a waste of your fucking tax money for us to properly fund this shit so they can save lives. Save fucking lives.
Well, Gizzell's journal entry showed she wanted to live. She wanted help. She wanted love, and the world failed her.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm coming to the close in this, I want to go. I want to go back to her words, because the thing about this case, if you only focus on the abuse, you miss the heartbreaking contrast between her suffering and her hope. She wrote, "I will be kind to others, even if they are not kind to me.
Mm-hmm.
I will not let sadness take my happiness away. I love everyone. I will try my best to be good." Imagine being so abused that your survival strategy is to try to be better so someone will hurt you less.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a child misbehaving. That's a child trying to save their own life.
Try to save their own life. And I would also like to point out, they're going to make the world a better place because the world deserves to be a better place. That's what I'm hearing from an 8-year-old little fucking girl. That's a powerful shit right there.
I covered weird cases last week, and this one is not weird. It's not strange or bizarre. It's not one of those cases where you sit back and wonder how humans craft creative ways to kill each other. This case is very simple and very raw. This case is cruelty in its purest form. Mm-hmm. It is one of the most devastating examples of what child abuse looks like when the system fails them at the same time. As I said, I take it back to Sylvia Likens. Gizzell did not disappear without leaving her mark. She left her journal, her words, and her hope. Mm-hmm. She left a little voice trying to speak for herself in the only place she could. She wrote, "I will survive." She didn't. The reason I tell this story, maybe somewhere out there will see their chance to help another child survive. Maybe this will stay with someone long enough that they make a phone call, ask a question, push a little harder, look a little closer. The difference between life and death for a child like this is whether the adults around them will pay attention. Gizzell Ford deserved love, safety, protection in childhood, and she got none of these. At the least we can do is make sure her name is not forgotten. So I'm going to get on my soapbox one more time. If you see something, say something. You cannot allow someone to continue down the path of abuse. You cannot sit idly by and hope someone else reports it or someone does something about it. You are obligated as a human being to do something. Intervene, make a call, get the person out of the situation, give them a chance at life. You could be their only hope. And that's the story of Gizzell Ford.
Thank you for telling that story.
I'm really sorry. Again, this kind of story is very deeply personal to me. It was hard to write. It was hard to read. But Gizzell Ford deserves a name out there. Her life was cut short, and cut short so tragically. Don't ignore signs. Don't ignore signs of this. Say something. Call somebody. Get them help. Hey, give them a chance. Just don't ignore it. That's all. That if I can ask you one thing, listener, please, you see signs of abuse, do something about it. You really do not know whose life you may be saving. So, that's all I got for this week, Zig. I don't even have it in me to do our close.
Okay. Well, kids, that will take us to an end of another thrilling and gripping episode. If you can, please check out our Patreon or our YouTube page. Or buy some of our merchandise. Any help goes to help funding this show, keep us up and running, keep us going. It does not fuel Lamborghinis or yachts or vacations. Please and thank you.
Please and thank you.
And lastly, but certainly not least, to our good friend Chuck, you can go to sleep now, Chuck. Good night, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck.
With that, I have been Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.
Falling